Hello everyone, the Nerdy Steve here, and today I will be talking about the MTG Arena announcements July 2022. That was yesterday, but oh well. This is the announcement for a Historic and Explorer Anthology, so those formats are getting brand new cards. So it says the Historic and Explorer formats are getting new bundles of awesome cards with the release of Historic Anthology and Explorer Anthology 1. Available July 28th, which is actually next week, which is much sooner than I thought we were going to get, until October 5th for 4,000 gems. Each bundle contains 4 copies of 20 powerful, iconic, and popular cards that open up deck building options. And then they showed us a little bit of a teaser. So, the Historic Anthology is interesting in that I have no idea what to expect from it. And they showed us that there's Ghost Shintai of Life's Origin, which is a card from, I think, the Neo Dynasty or Neo Destiny Commander stuff that didn't get put on Arena. And so this is going to be fun in Brawl, Historic Brawl, because there's a lot of people who like the Shrine decks. I don't think it's going to be that impactful in Historic Constructed. And kind of the same thing with Avacyn. Avacyn's a fun, really powerful big creature that's probably not going to make a lot of impact on Constructed. And then we also have Tarmogoyf, which is Tarmogoyf was one of the most powerful creatures maybe 15 years ago, whenever it came out. But I don't think it's going to be that useful now. So Tarmogoyf is a card that's power and toughness equal to number of cards in all graveyards, and its toughness equal to that number plus 1. And what makes Tarmogoyf really, really good is that for 2 mana, you can make it like a 5/6 creature. Fairly, like, regularly. Probably it's more reliably a 4/5 creature in the formats that it gets played or got played in. But there are a couple of problems with that in Historic. First of all, a vanilla big creature, there's just a lot of things to do for 2 mana that just a big vanilla creature that can be chumped blocked, that doesn't give you any enter the battlefield effects. It's just not as good as every other card has gotten better and caught up to kind of the rate of with which Tarmogoyf is. But without fetch lands and other really reliable ways to put cards in your graveyard, it's not going to get as big as quickly in other Eternal formats. Now, maybe in Historic Anthology we get the fetch lands or something, which would shake it up a lot. But right now, Tarmogoyf, I think, is just at too low a rate and not as in. It hasn't aged very well. And I think that's a problem. Will it see play? I would be very, very surprised if it saw play. But we'll also see what else comes out. But as of now, I don't think it's going to make that much of an impact. I think a lot of the mono green decks, there's going to be a lot more to do. Specifically, if we're going to talk about Explorer Anthology, which is what cards that's going to include, and I'll just do a little preview. I think we're going to be seeing Elvish Mystic, and Elvish Mystic is going to make Tarmogoyf a lot worse. And that's because if theoretically we get Elvish Mystic in the Explorer Anthology, it means turn 3 plays are going to be much more powerful than turn 2 plays. In Tarmogoyf, if you do Elvish Mystic on turn 1, which is you're going to do a lot in green-based decks, Tarmogoyf on 2, why would you have that when you can just cast a 3 casting cost card? And so that's where I think that's Tarmogoyf isn't going to see as much play. Now, there are cards that I think would make an impact in Historic that I would like to see. So first is a really, really big wishful thinking, because I know they're never going to include a free counterspell, but I would love to have Force of Will in the format. I know blue-white control is very, very powerful, and very, very popular. But Force of Will is a card you can exile another blue card from your hand rather than pay this card's mana cost to counter a spell. And in general, like, I think formats with Force of Will are more interesting, and I know a lot of people will disagree because a lot of people hate free counter spells, but I think it does some cool stuff and would combat a lot of the weird counter or weird combo decks going on. And I think blue white control is fine, and I don't think it's a really, really powerful deck in historic right now. And maybe Force of Will would put it into maybe too powerful of a position, but I think it would be cool to try out. I don't know. You can let me know how terrible this idea is, but I don't think it would necessarily. I just want to play with Force of Will. I haven't really played with Force of Will outside of maybe a cube environment once or twice. So I just want to play Force of Will on Historic. Now, we'll probably never see it because of how priority works on Arena, and free counter magic is probably such an easy tell. So we'll probably never see it, but I can dream. If anything, the other Force cards, is it Force of Negation, the Modern Horizons ones that are a little, less powerful, those might be a better choice, but I would love to see Force of Will. I would also love to see Stoneforge Mystic. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then you shuffle your library. Then you can put equipment from your hand onto the battlefield. Again, I think it. This is such a powerful card. Right now, I think we would need to print more powerful equipment to go along with it, like maybe what is it, Batter Skull or Umazawa's Jitte. But right now, I think the human aggressive decks, like a lot of white aggro decks are kind of one note and there's only one flavor. And I think maybe if we have the humans aggro deck and then there's like this equipment one with how much they're also pushing equipment errata in the alchemy cards, I think would just be a cool thing to play around with to see if we can, make historic have maybe different white aggro decks, but also if historic wants to like errata and change different equipment cards so that there's a unique equipment deck on the format or in the format, I think that'd be cool, and I think that's worth potentially pursuing, and I think Stoneforge Mystic could fit into that slot very, very well. And then, in addition to the historic anthology, we have Explorer anthology. Now, kind of the point of Explorer is to turn Arena's Explorer format to event. Explorer anthology wants to turn Arena's Explorer format into Paper's Pioneer. And so we are at a point where there's about like 30 or 40 cards we can include in Explorer, which would make it almost exactly the same as Pioneer. And like of course, like there's a lot of cards, but those are the very, very relevant ones. And right now we have Favorite Hoplite, which is good in Explore heroic decks, and we already have that type of thing on Arena where whenever you cast a spell that targets Favorite Hoplite, you put a +1/+1 counter, and you prevent all damage to it. So this favors the type of decks with there's this card and other, I forget, like 10th Legionnaire or other decks that you target your own things with Defiant Strike or other auras or instants that pump up and cycle it. So you can create a really, really big creature very, very quickly that, it's really, really hard for your opponent to interact with. If you favorite Hoplite on turn 1, and then you target it with 2 spells on turn 2, you have a 3/4 creature that's only going to get bigger as you cycle through your deck, and it forces you to have immediate and very, very cheap answers. And it's going to really help support that type of deck because it is somewhat popular. And I think this card is going to really make it that much more so. Supreme Verdict is an uncounterable Wrath of God, and I think this is actually one of the last cards that was missing in the Explorer version of the deck. I think with Supreme Verdict, we get to remove Depopulate from the blue white control decks we're playing in Explorer, and now we have a true to paper version of this deck. I think I could be wrong, and that's pretty huge because so white blue is going to be one of the best decks in the format. I mean, it already is, but now it's really cool that we have stuff that is going to start being true to paper. And then we have Kalitas Trader of Get, which is also a very important card. Red Black is very popular, and so there's going to be really good benefit to those Explorer decks. But it does cool things against like Cat Oven and other creature strategies where those creatures, instead of just dying regularly, they get exiled and you get zombies. And so Kalitas is an important part, a card we're missing from the Pioneer stuff, and it's going to make Explore Anthology that much, or Explorer that much more interesting because it plays a really big role in it. Or maybe it will, maybe it won't, who knows. But I think it's going to be very important in the metagame. And again, there are 17 more cards that are going to be announced. And people have lists of the priority of cards that we should see. Like, you can look at any Pioneer announcement or deck list and see, oh, these are the top 10 cards that we need to make Explorer Pioneer. And we probably won't get all of those, but some of the ones that people really want that I think we might get because they're relatively simple are Monastery Swift Spear, and I talked about Elvish Mystic earlier. Both of these cards, Monastery Swift Spear is really good in mono red and different spell builds and stuff, and this is a very aggressive card and it's very good. And if this becomes in Pioneer or Explorer, I think it's going to really help those decks fight against the control white-blue decks. We also have Elvish Mystic, which combined with hopefully Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, which is used in a mono green devotion deck in Pioneer. It's going to almost, I think, put that onto Arena's Explorer as like a 1-for-1 true to paper deck. I think it's going to be still missing a couple cards, but these are the really big ones missing. And this is a very popular deck. And I also like Elvish Mystic because Elves in Historic is missing another reliable one-drop, so I think this will make that much better and maybe give Elves something to do in Historic, which I would love. But Nykthos also can be played in different mono black decks. Everyone loves Nykthos. It's really good in different monocolor decks and really fun and really popular and really powerful. So I'd be surprised if we don't see it. And I think it's also a missing component to one of the most popular decks in the format. And then we also have Spell Queller, which is, I think, one of the more complicated cards. And I really want to see, because what Spell Queller does is I like the Spirit decks. I like different tempo-oriented decks. And Spell Queller can... It's a flash flying 2/3 that when it enters the battlefield, you exile a spell, and then that spell is cast when Spell Queller leaves the battlefield. So it just does a lot of cool different things, and it is something that I would like to play around with in Explorer, because it's not really an effect we have right now, and I think it will open up different possibilities for it. And this is the card I really hope we get this update, because I think it just will do really cool stuff. And that being said, there's other talks about, the draft open and, the quick drafts and stuff, and that's all fine, but we all really care about the previews for next week. And with all that being said, if there's anything you want to see or any thoughts you have on the cards already revealed, let me know. I'm looking forward to it. I love Magic. I love more Magic cards being available and more things to play with. And I really just hope, for the sake of Historic, We get some really powerful and interesting cards to the format to shake it up and to let people gain interest in it. That's why I want Forest of Will and Stoneforge Mystic and other really powerful things, because I really want people to like Historic and to play with it, and I think we need really, really powerful and popular cards. And with all that being said, if you haven't already, you should like, comment, subscribe. You can watch me stream live at twitch.tv/thenerdysteve. I am doing this video today instead of like a normal deck, though sometimes I do this. I do the news stuff when there's newsworthy stuff. Because right now it is so hot, our power's been going in and out, and I didn't really want to devote myself to a long uh, gameplay video. So yeah, hope you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are, and thanks for watching. Bye.